us understand the book or poem better.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. And we're going to be mindful of that. Did you want to add on, Max?
Inferences can also help us by like seeing what the author is not saying, and yeah.
Awesome. Yep. What the author is not actually writing in the actual text like a poem. So we have to make these inferences. So it really helps us understand the poem so much better. What I'm going to do with you is I'm going to read The Second Son. And it's a poem right behind me. And it is a poem that is written by Nikki Grimes. And you're going to hear it the very first time. So what I want you to do is when you hear it the very first time, I want you to really be just imagining, visualize. That's one strategy that helps us. Visualize what might be happening. And one thing that I want you to notice in The Second Son, if the poem up here, eyes on the poem, I want you to notice that this no longer is a paragraph. It is structured in a way that's different. It's structured in a way that has stanzas. Do you see the first stanza?
Yes.
Second stanza? Mm-hmm. And the third stanza? Awesome. So there are 3 stanzas here. Lucan, how many stanzas are there here?
3.
There are 3 stanzas. So there are 3 stanzas that we're going to be reading to better understand this poem. But I'm going to read it the very first time, and I really want you to be thinking about, you're going to be making inferences about the poem, and I want you to be thinking about what this poem means, okay? So let's start off, and just follow along with me, all right? And follow along with me, and you know what that means? You're going to be looking at the word. I'll stand up to help. Looking at the word to make sure that we're following along and seeing the words on the paper so that we can understand better the text in this poem specifically. So Nikki Grimes, Second Son. We're leaning on the stoop, see counting wedges of blue sky, sandwiched in between the roofs and white clouds drifting by. Why do you want my friendship, Blue? I blurred out there and then. I had a son named Zeke, Blue said. These streets became his friend. He needed me, but by the time I came, it was too late. He'd passed the point of trusting his old man to steer him straight. Okay, so now I'm going to read it one more time. Because poems, it's important to read it a couple of times to better understand the poem, right? Rereading is such an important reading strategy. And this time, when I read it, I will be stopping to clarify some words. I also want you to be thinking of some questions, okay, as I read it. My first question is going to be, why does Blue want Damon's friendship? And we don't know here, but Damon is who he's referring to. Why does Blue want Damon's friendship? Be thinking about it. Why does he want it? I want you to be thinking about that. I'm going to read it again. We're leaning on the stoop. See counting wedges of blue sky, sandwiched in between the roofs and white clouds drifting by. Why'd you want my friendship, Blue? I blurred out there and then. I had a son named Zeke, Blue said. These streets became his friend. He needed me, but by the time I came, it was too late. He'd passed the point of trusting his old man to steer him straight. So, one thing I want to clarify is stoop. Normally you find stoops in front of buildings, and it's a place where you can sit, and that's why it has the image of a stoop there. And a wedge is just a place where it's just an open, it's a small opening. That's what a wedge is. So after hearing it the second time, Why do you think Blue, why do you think the person who's speaking wants Damon's friendship? Why do you think he wants the friendship? And what makes you think that? Do you have an idea? When you have an idea, thumb against your chest. And you can reread it a little bit. When you have that idea and you're ready to share it, you can turn to your partner and share it when you are ready. Okay?
I think why he wants this friendship is because he's very lonely, and without his son, he just doesn't really have anybody to talk to.
What makes you think that?
That makes me think. What makes me think that is he is on the very last, on the bottom, is said, I came. I needed. He needed me, but by the time I came home, it was too late. He passed the point of trusting his old man to steer him straight. Trusting his old man, I thought he blew, Zeke didn't couldn't trust Blue anymore.
What do you think, sweetie? Can you add on?
Well, yeah,
What did you both think?
it was past that time. Blue wanted to be friends with Zeke, but Zeke
He wanted Damon's friendship because he had
passed the point.
a son named Zeke, and he said these streets became his friend, and
Okay, so thank you for referring to the text, yep.
and then he didn't trust him. The streets, he passed the point of trusting him,
I feel
and
something
yeah.
these streets.
I noticed that you referred to the text to really help you make that inference. What do you think?
Passed the point. Zeke,
Why does Blue want Damon's friendship? Do you agree with them? Do you want to add on?
I'm gonna add on to Moses because he had a son named Zeke, and Zeke got to the point where he couldn't trust him anymore and tried to steer him straight.
Who tried to steer him straight?
Zeke.
Blue
tried to steer him straight.
right?
Tried to steer him straight so he can trust him.
And what she said was that
Poems, like the Golden Door. They didn't actually know the Golden Door. So I don't know if they knew
Ooh, I love that you're making that connection. So what do you think? Why do you think? I heard both of you. Can one of you at this just table share? Why does Blue want Damon's friendship? Why do you think Blue wants Damon's friendship? Why does he want Damon's friendship? Ledger?
because he was lonely and his son went the other way and didn't really want to be Blue's son anymore or dad anymore, and he really wanted a friend, and he was really lonely.
So I noticed that you made reference to the text, which is really our goal, right? It's so important to make references to the text to understand why Blue wants Damon's friendship, because he might be lonely. What was another reason that you said, Moses? Can you share with us?
He wanted Damon's friendship because he said that he had a son named Zeke. Then he said these streets became his friend. Then, he passed the point of trusting his friend, his old man, he said, old man to steer him straight.
Awesome. Thank you very much again for really thinking about our goal. You're always using text evidence to really create these inferences, right? Using this text evidence. So now I have another question for you all. You're making these wonderful inferences, and I appreciate that very much. We're going to look at the second stanza. Can you look at the second stanza? That second stanza right there is, why do you want my friendship, Blue? I blurt out there and then, I had a son named Zeke, Blue said. These streets became his friend. What do you think? Just look at these. So this is the second stanza. What do you think just these two lines mean? Now that you made an inference about why Blue maybe wants Demon's friendship. I had a son named Zeke, Blue said. These streets became his friends. What does that mean? What can you infer this means? Think about it for a minute. When you have an idea, put it against your chest. What can that mean? And remember, it's okay if our inference is wrong, but we're trying, and that's really important. We're using our text evidence to really help us unpack, and we're really using one another to help us learn more, right? Okay, when you have an idea, go ahead. This is my next question. What do you think
Is that
the last two lines of the second stanza mean?
I think that the last two lines of the stanza means like maybe Zeke was very lonely and maybe he didn't really get to maybe his family was like poor, he couldn't get to school and maybe he didn't like have any friends.
And like the only friends that he had were like the streets, and maybe like there was like he had friends that lived on the street or something, and those were his only friends that he really liked or wanted to be friends with.
Okay, that really helps us a little bit more.
And Blue just wanted a friend because he was very lonely.
What do you think? Do you agree with them? Using text evidence?
Yeah, like there's like
He also
something.
also think that he had no friends, so he made the streets become his friend.
And what does that mean? What do you think that means? What can you infer that means?
Like you said. So like it maybe wasn't actually the streets, maybe he was just like talking to
Like he's maybe sad that he has no friends.
Okay, it can be sad. Let's help one another out a little bit. So I was hearing from both of your partnerships, one of the things that I was hearing is that he was pretty, right? You think that what the last two lines mean, that he's pretty lonely and he doesn't really have friends, but his streets became his friend. Now let's think about this idea of the streets, okay? What does that mean? What do you think the streets become your friends? Let's unpack that a little bit together. What can we infer about do you think it's the actual streets? Like, can you go to a street and say, hey friend, what's up? How are you doing? No. So then it's going to be a little bit more like the golden door. It's a symbol. Exactly. What do you think that means? What do you think the streets became his friend mean? The streets became his friend. Let's just unpack that a little bit. What can you infer about what that means? Do you have an idea, Max? We can start the conversation. Awesome. And let's be listening really carefully to what Max says.
What I think it means is maybe he was just like lonely and he just wanted to talk to someone, so he just like represents him and himself, so he like talks to himself and he's like with the streets or like by the streets.
Do you agree with him? Do you disagree? Do you have a different idea? Yeah.
I think like he goes outside like in the streets a lot, that it feels like it's his friend.
So he goes out into the streets. So Zeke used to go out into the streets so much that it became his friend.
Like it was his daily routine. Like
Going out in the street and just hanging out in the streets, it became his friend.
I like to add.
Yeah, please.
He just normally if he was planning to like normally he'd just go on the streets and just stay there for a while and just stay there because he liked the streets.
Yeah, so when you go out to the streets, do just get to hang out there